He thought it was over. A mistake on a distant planet. A moment he buried in silence. But then she came back. Wrapped in red light, holding something in her arms. A child. She didn't accuse him. She didn't cry. She just looked at him and said, "This is your child, human." And in that moment, he realized the past never stays in space. They called it a mission. I called it exile. 9 months stranded on Saraxa after the relay collapsed. 9 months breathing air that wasn't quite oxygen. Drinking water that tasted of iron and memory. Listening to my own voice echo off metal walls. The silence got into your bones after month 3. By month 5, I stopped responding to the journal prompts HQ had preloaded. By month 7, I started talking to the wind. By month 9, I met her. She wasn't human. I didn't know what she was at first. Just a shape moving through the violet mist, silent and upright. Like a mirage that forgot to disappear. The suits had warned us about possible sentient life forms. But no visual matched what I saw that day. Tall. Bipedal. Skin like glass beneath flame. Eyes that reflected more than light. They reflected me. She didn't speak. Didn't need to. When I approached, I felt something shift in the air. Like a second heartbeat pressing through my skin. I raised my hands. She didn't flinch. Instead, she reached forward, 2 fingers extended, and touched the inside of my wrist. That was when it began. The link. Not words. Not thoughts. Something older. More cellular. A current of understanding that ran beneath language. She showed me her world. Not in visions, but in impressions. The taste of light. The weight of silence. The way her people shared memory through contact. When they say we connected, it sounds too simple. What happened that night was not simple. She brought me to a cavern deep beneath the canyons. Bioluminescent vines curled like veins through stone. Warmth pulsed from the walls like a second skin. She stood before me, armor stripped away, not naked, but elemental. I didn't touch her. She touched me. A hand to the chest. A breath in sync. And something ancient inside me surrendered. I didn't call it sex. It was alignment. An echo sinking to its source. A body remembering how to feel another soul without breaking it. We didn't speak. But when it ended, she rested her forehead against mine. Her eyes closed. Mine didn't. I was already forgetting what Earth smelled like. 3 weeks later, extraction arrived. I never saw her again. I returned to Tranquility Base. Got debriefed. Scrubbed. Scanned. Reindoctrinated. Anything unusual during planetary isolation, they asked. Just storms. And solitude, I replied. They nodded. Marked my answers. Moved on. I went home to Lena. She held me like I'd been gone a decade. I held her like I might vanish again. She asked what happened. I told her I worked. I slept. I watched stars that didn't blink. I didn't tell her about the way Saraxa's wind sounded like singing. or the way that touch still buzzed beneath my skin like phantom voltage. I buried that night beneath silence, under the weight of we don't talk about what we don't understand. But sometimes, I dream. In the dream, she doesn't speak. She only reaches 2 fingers inside wrist. And I remember. I didn't call it betrayal. I called it survival. The knock was soft. Not frantic. Not tentative. Just precise. Evan opened the door with half a breath still caught in his throat. Morning light spilled across the porch, and standing in it, framed by sky and silence, was the shape he had buried in dreams. Ryan. Her skin shimmered less here. The atmosphere dulled her glow, but not her presence. She wore a red cloak over what looked like adaptive armor. In her arms was a bundle of cloth dark, still, breathing. She didn't smile. She didn't accuse. She simply said, "This is your child." He didn't move. She stepped forward and placed the bundle in his arms. It weighed almost nothing. Except it carried everything. He looked down. The baby had dark hair, pale skin. At first glance, human. But then, the eyes opened. Not blue. Not brown. Not any earth color. They shimmered with soft light. Reflective. Deep. Like starlight filtered through water. His hands trembled. He nearly dropped the child. Ryan steadied him with a single touch to his elbow. He doesn't need you to love him. Just to know him. Evan blinked. Why now? She looked toward the horizon. Because you forgot me. But not what we became. That night wasn't silence. It was seed. He opened his mouth. Closed it. Words were ash. Ryan brushed her fingers across the child's forehead. Her expression didn't change. But something in the air seemed to sigh. He doesn't belong to me, she said. Not anymore. Then she turned. No goodbye. No cry. Just the crunch of footsteps against gravel and the faint hum of something leaving. He stood there, still holding the child, long after the wind had erased her shadow. Inside the house, Lena stirred. Dishes. The sound of a kettle. Her voice, calling gently from the kitchen. Evan? Who was that at the door? He looked down at the child again. It looked back. He saw nothing of himself in the shape of its face. But in the eyes. He saw Saraxot. Later, when Lena came to find him, he had already hidden the child. He didn't know why. Only that he couldn't let her see those eyes. Not yet. Maybe not ever. He told Lena it was a training conference. 3 days out of town. Routine stuff. Nothing big. She kissed him goodbye like always. Packed a thermos. Smiled as if nothing trembled under the floorboards. Evan drove 6 hours to an outpost no one visited unless they had secrets to test. The child sat in the back seat, silent, wide-eyed. Not a single cry. Just soft sounds, like breathing mixed with thought. At the research compound, the scanners didn't know what to do with him. The genetic readouts froze. Blood work refused to categorize. the text whispered. Then came the neurological scans. The child's brain lit up like a signal tower. Cognitive response beyond adult range. Language centers fully active. One text said, "He's thinking in ways we haven't mapped. Not human. Not alien. Something woven." They asked where the boy was from. Evan lied. He watched as the boy pointed to objects, mimicked sounds. But more than that, he seemed to anticipate questions before they were asked. He watched Evan with a strange calm. As if he recognized his father, but didn't require explanation. That night, in the facility dorm, Evan dreamed of Saraxot. The crimson sky before a storm. Ryan's silhouette against glowing vines. The feel of her fingers on his wrist. Her breath sinking to his. The moment something ancient passed between them. He woke with sweat pooling in his collarbone and the boy sitting beside the bed. "Were you with her again?" the boy asked. He didn't ask how he knew. The boy didn't ask again. The next day, the director handed Evan a folder. No name. Just data. "We're not sure how he exists. But he does. And he's accelerating. Rapidly. Emotionally too." Evan asked what that meant. "It means in a year, he may not need parents. Or a planet." He signed the papers to leave. Refused further testing. On the drive back, the boy slept. Evan glanced at the rear-view mirror. The eyes, those impossible, glowing eyes, reflected not the road, but something older. Home was still there. Lena greeted him with warmth and suspicion folded into one hug. He said the conference went fine. He didn't say there were rooms filled with graphs about his child. He didn't say he no longer dreamed of Saraxot. Now he dreamed of mirrors. Of himself. Split in two. That night, the boy touched a photo of Evan as a child. "This was you, before you became afraid." Evan knelt. "Am I afraid now?" The boy nodded. "Of what?" The boy hesitated. "Then, that I look like her?" Evan closed his eyes. He remembered Ryan, standing in the wind, saying, "He doesn't need you to love him. Just to know him." He did know him. And that made it worse. Because it meant there was no going back. No pretending. No erasing. No waking up to find it was all a fever dream of a broken planet. The boy was here. He existed. And Evan knew. He was the bridge. To a place he could never return. And a future he was never meant to build. Lena found out on a Wednesday. Not from Evan. Not from whispers or shadows or half-truths. From the boy. She was brushing crumbs off the kitchen counter. He stood behind her, quiet as usual, staring at the light through the window. "You're not my mother," he said. Her hand froze mid-swipe. She turned slowly. "What did you say?" He didn't blink. "You don't look like me." He does. But only half. She didn't ask who he was. She already knew. Evan came home that night to silence. No music. No smell of food. Just the boy, sitting on the couch. And Lena, sitting across from him. She looked up. He told me. Evan didn't ask what. He just nodded. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She said, "You didn't sleep with her. But you gave her a part of you I never had." He sat down, slowly. The boy watched both of them like a question no one dared answer. "I didn't mean for it to happen," Evan said. "I know. But you let it. And now he's here. He didn't choose this either." She looked at the boy. Then back at Evangelist. "No. But I still see her in him." He didn't respond. That night, they slept in the same bed. But the space between them was wide enough for a galaxy. In the morning, Lena made coffee. She didn't touch his cup. He reached for her hand. She pulled away. Not with anger. With quiet. With distance. With something that had once been soft but now was glass. They ate breakfast like co-workers. The boy said nothing. Later, Evan found her in the backyard, staring at the sky. "Do you still love me?" he asked. She didn't turn around. "I don't know. But I remember when I did." "What do we do now?" She shook her head. "You already did it." That night, she tucked the boy into bed. Gently. Carefully. He looked at her and whispered, "You're not her. But you're kind." She kissed his forehead. Then left the room. Evan stood in the hallway. She walked past him without a word. He watched her back disappear into their bedroom. She closed the door. He didn't follow. He stayed in the hallway, staring at the boy's room. Wondering when a house became a planet you couldn't breathe on anymore. It happened on a Sunday. No thunder. No ship descending from clouds. Just the hum of an unfamiliar silence. Ryan stood at the threshold. Same red armor. Same calm. But this time, her eyes surged past Evan toward Lena. "I'm not here for him," she said. "I'm here for you." Lena didn't move. Didn't speak. Ryan held out a small device. No bigger than a coin. It pulsed faintly with blue light. "It holds memory. Not data. What I felt, what he felt, what your child will one day remember even if no one tells him." Lena reached for it. Their fingers didn't touch. "Why give this to me?" Lena asked. "Because he was never only mine. And pain shared is pain halved." Evan watched from behind the doorway. Unmoving. He wanted to step forward. To interrupt. To apologize again, or defend, or ask for nothing but time. But this was not his moment. Ryan looked at the boy, who stood in the hall, quiet, watching. Then back to Lena. "He needs a world. You still have one." Lena looked at the child. Then at the device. "Will you come back?" she asked. Ryan shook her head. "This is my last step into your sky. No tears. No dramatic goodbye. Just a nod. A slow turn. And a soft rustle of grass under alien boots." When she was gone, the boy walked to Lena. He placed his small hand against her knee. Said nothing. Lena knelt. She held him. Not tightly. Not like a mother desperate to rewrite biology, but like someone choosing. When Evan stepped out at last, the sky was beginning to darken. He stood at the edge of the yard. Not too close. Lena looked up. "She's not coming back," she said. "I know." She looked at the boy. Then at Evangelist. "But he is. Every day." Evan nodded. "He didn't choose any of this." She exhaled. "No. But I can choose how I see him. And I choose not to see her. I choose to see him." The boy looked at Evan. His eyes shimmered faintly. "Dad." The word hung in the air. Evan didn't answer. He just stepped forward. And the boy smiled. In the distance, the wind shifted, carrying with it no voice, no goodbye. Just the echo of someone who had once touched them both, and now lived only in memory. Somewhere between stars and skin. And that was enough.